Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 20XX. Day 2, we are currently, I would say, in the end game now of the alpha bracket as we are jumping onto round 5 of the winner side, which is winner semis. I can't believe this has gone by so fast, Rissa. So fast.
It has. I definitely like that it's gone by so fast. It seems pretty seamless so far, and we've already gotten into winners semis. And speaking of, we are actually going to be watching. So since we've gotten so far in the tournament, two really strong teams here: Destiny Bond versus, how would you pronounce that, Dura?
I would say Kagura.
Kagura. All right,
Yeah.
Destiny Bond versus Kagura. Two teams that have familiar players that we know. Dura, what do you know about these teams?
Well, I know a lot about these teams. Well, actually, I know a lot about fractions of these teams. I do know that
Yes.
Kagura is composed of two players that I'm very well versed with, which are .Q and Leafy, two players of the team Jackpot, which seems to be kind of inactive right now as they're looking for a fourth player to fill in that slot. However, both of these players, absolutely quality. Leafy, a great slayer on that splash, on the machine. They used to play not, at least in the last game, and they're absolutely proficient with it, so very good. And .Q, regarded as one of the best Charger players out there, and in my opinion, the strongest Charger player in the entire Western scene. Now, those two players, well, that's my opinion. Those two players are joined by two Japanese players, so a lot of mixing and matching, as we've seen in this tournament. Those two players are Whammy, who rocks the Splatana Samper, and Yuichi, a Splash-O-Matic player. And we all know Splash-O-Matic players. They're all over the place nowadays, and with good reason. How about you, Rissa? What can you tell us about Destiny Bond?
Well, Destiny Bond has some familiar faces that we all know, of course. Juan, Jared, Zero, all familiar high competitive players that have consistently been in the top caliber of players. And looks like they are actually joined here by Wally and Iasa, I want to say. Don't want to pronounce that correctly, but today, as I can see the players in the lobby, today they're going to be playing with Zero, Jared, Juan, and Iasa.
Yeah, Ayasasa, also a Japanese player that plays E-Leader. So it seems like we'll have a few Charger laser pointing wars in this match. So yeah, be excited for that. We haven't seen much Charger today, Rissa, have we?
We haven't. That's a good point to think about. You know, players like Ice, Brian, you know, typically in Splatoon 2 did play Charger and play it very, very well. We have not seen that yet so far in the tournament. So as we go into this first game of winners semis, we do see, looking at these comps here, each team coming out with an E-Leader. So, you know, we went from seeing no Chargers or E-Leaders at all to seeing both teams here having an E-Leader for this first game, Splat Zones on Brinewater.
Yeah, and it's so fitting that the first map in an E-Leader match have it be like just Brinewater, because this map is E-Leader heaven. It is so good. The sight lines are so good. And it's funny I say that because we just saw one of the splashes on the side of Destiny Bond get picked off, as well as a stamper on the side of Kagura get picked off by this E-Leader. Ayasa finding a nasty angle onto the enemy splash there. The enemy splash. And that was absolutely insane, Rissa. It has been so back and forth right now after a minute in mid. Both teams have had the zone for quite a bit. It seems like Kagura is supporting this lead right now, but yeah, I'm very impressed with that shot. I'm in awe.
Yeah, that was a really good shot, especially around that left area. There's that wall there. You have to really be watching that to be able to get a snipe like that. So that was an excellent snipe to come out. But For the zone, I mean, it seems like it's consistently going back and forth. Each team is just really trying to play this pretty carefully. They each know that there's an E-leader staring them down, and if they take the wrong spot, they have the potential to get sniped. So right now, with the zone juggling back and forth, 2 members going down on the side of Destiny Bond, 3 members now. Kagura is able to push up, get the zone, and start finally trying to set up to really play defense to defend the zone here.
Yeah, they already had the lead, and it seems like they're only going to solidify it in this moment of the match. It is taking down, and Destiny Bond scarcely has any specials. But as soon as I say that, a crab tank gets popped from both teams, and it seems like Kagura is able to find a pick, and that is 3 down on the side of Destiny Bond. This is looking like a possible KO, Rissa.
It is. Look at this. Leafy here popping this crab just to make sure that they slow down anyone from Destiny Bomb trying to get into the zone. And I loved that crab really helped the defense there for the zone. All the members of Kagura making sure that they didn't push up too far. They know that they just needed to literally keep the zone painted, guard it, and just like that, playing with that type of knowledge and playing that really carefully there at the end allowed them to completely KO that and take game 1 over Destiny Bond.
Yeah, and as I said, what an appropriate match for roughly the first time or the first E-leaders we've seen in this entire tournament. But yeah, it is counterpick, so let's see what Destiny Bond thinks up to counter Kagura here. What are you thinking, Rissa?
That's a really good question. Since they have an E-leader, each team has an E-leader, I feel like that always makes it a little bit difficult in a way because you want to make sure that you enable your E-leader, but you also, have to think about, okay, since the other team also has an E-leader, that's obviously going to enable the other team's E-leader as well. So that's when you have to really start thinking about, okay, what was it about the other team that made this really difficult for us? And that happened, so fast there in a way that I wasn't necessarily able to pick out what it was that enabled Kagura to play so well and what Destiny Bond might need to do to be able to defend that. I think the second game is going to be a really good tell for how these teams are going to play and what Destiny Bond might need to do differently.
Definitely, and as we can see, they have counterpicked Kagura straight to Sturgeon Shipyard Tower Control, a map that we've seen quite a bit in this tournament, and with good reason. It is a very good map, and I do believe that Destiny Bond is just looking for a very explosive push, and as we've seen, let this map snowball, because it can snowball, and it can snowball a lot, Rissa. It can be very, very dangerous.
Yeah, it could be really dangerous if that tower gets to the second checkpoint and you are not on your defense game. It can absolutely snowball so fast. So, going into this, Destiny Bond must, I have a feeling maybe they're comfortable with this. Maybe there's something about it that plays for them really well, and they have a game plan that they know they want to use going into this. And looking at these comps too, Kagura actually not going to have an E-leader this time around, instead having a Stamper and 3 splashes for this match.
Very, very valid. Taking advantage of how snowbally this can get, maybe the E-leader would have slowed them down a bit. But as we can see, Sasa on the side of Destiny Bond using this E-leader so well, getting a lot of picks and just applying so much pressure onto mid here. .Q pops that crab tank, gets a pick onto 0. This is a 3v2 in favor of Kagura. I do expect them to hop on tower just like that and get a push going. Very good pick from Juan there, but this R is going to reach this first checkpoint, and I think it will be broken quite fast unless that Booyah allows for a delay or a stall, and now Kagura can just... yeah, they can't do anything, actually, and Destiny Bond is back to mid. They have full control, and they are looking to start their own push.
Kagura having to completely jump back and regroup and play defense really fast. I love that they instantly jump back, set up for defense. Having crabs at the ready is so important right now in Splatoon 3 for defense. That crab can completely shut down a push, and that's exactly what we see here. 3 members down on the side of Destiny Bond. That fast reaction time from Kagura. Just recognizing, jumping back, get defense ready. Don't even hesitate. Don't try and take 1v1. Set up the defense. And that was so awesome for them because that enabled them to set up defense. And now they are the ones pushing the tower, trying to get it through the first checkpoint.
Yeah, both teams having a member down. Actually, Kagura has a staggered team member, which is quite bad for them. If they get the pick onto Jared, as they do, that means they can defend quite easily. Now, Whammy attack. Whammy there, aggressing onto that E-leader, being a real nuisance, and now the E-leader is gone out of the fray. They can probably knock out this first checkpoint, take the lead, and at least reach the second checkpoint. I won't say break it, but maybe they'll reach it as the points are just climbing down and down and down. This crab tank is absolutely doing so much damage in favor of Kagura. Destiny Bond not in a good position. The second checkpoint does get broken. Rissa, this is so dangerous.
So dangerous, and look at this crab from .Q just enabling Q to ride the tower for Kagura. The constant crab and crab awareness from Kagura was insane there. They constantly, it seemed like, had 2 crabs at the ready, whether it was for defense or whether it was for pushing. And Q there just popping that crab at the last possible second. That way, no one from Destiny Bond could even approach the tower. Was so good because that just allowed them to completely get the tower all the way down to 0, count those points down, and safely win this game 2. So we will be moving on to a game 3 here. And once again, Destiny Bond having to be on that counter pick.
Yeah, and remember, because Destiny Bond has not actually won any map in this set, no shade being thrown here, I'm just stating the rules, they can pick any mode they'd like. So if they want to go back to tower control or splat zones, they are free to do so. So yeah, I don't know honestly what they want to do. They seem to be struggling against Kagura, as anyone would be, because they look so strong right now. So strong.
They do. And I mean, like I just said too, it seems like their awareness of crab usage is so good. And I mean, we're so used to seeing splashes and crabs in the meta right now. It's just constantly in our brains and we're just so used to seeing it. But just highlighting the awareness of crab usage, whether it's for pushes or defense, for Kagura is I think their strong point here. And Destiny Bond is gonna have to figure out how to play around that. You know, what do? Do you try and stop these splashes before they even get crab? Do you counter it with your own crabs? You know, what is the counter here, as this could potentially be match point for Kagura?
Yeah, it definitely is. And very pressure heavy situation for Destiny Bond. It looks like they have counterpicked them back to splat zones, and it's back on museum. Everyone loves this map, as they should. Great map. And here we go, match point for Kagura, and the last dying breath for Destiny Bond possibly.
Looking at these comps here, Kagura once again coming out with the triple splash and stamper, and then on the other side, Destiny Bond having that E-leader once again, double splash and a machine. Both teams here coming into mid, and initially the zone is going to be capped by Kagura, but with this crab at the ready for Destiny Bond, you can see they are playing this pretty carefully to try and get to the zone, and just like that, they are able to cap the zone, give 13 penalty points over to Kagura, but 2 members of Destiny Bond go down, and Kagura here once again in control of the zone, pushing up and guarding the zone very nicely.
Yeah, very aggressive play, and I do like it. Whammy here with the shark getting caught out, unfortunately not even being able to get a trade off of that, but it doesn't matter because Kagura is just pushing in, and by doing that, They're applying so much pressure that their lead is growing and growing and growing by the second. It is barely over a minute into this game, and they've pushed up to 30 ticks. That is very, very impressive. And it's not going to stop Rissa. This could be a KO.
I mean, here it is again, that special usage, that crab, keeping the crab here. .Q just holding it in mid, making sure that she doesn't push up too far, and literally just sitting in mid, using a crab and shooting explo shots, using the normal shots for that is completely stopping Destiny Bond, paired with the other teammates pushed up into the plat. I mean, how do you approach that type of setup and defense of the zone? Was so good for Kagura, and that's exactly what we've been consistently seeing from them in this match. So Kagura taking game 3 of this best of 5 set and moving on through the winner side of the bracket. Destiny Bond still in the tournament and going down through the loser side of the bracket.
Absolutely stellar gameplay coming out from every team member in Kagura. As I said, very strong people, very strong players here. So I do wonder what Jem over at our analyst desk has to say about the set. Let's pass it over to him.
Well, here we are looking at some really, really high-level Splatoon gameplay. And I say that because all of these matches were really hanging by a thread the entire time. Each time one team used a resource, another resource was traded back. Every time someone went down, someone else was traded back. And we see that in a lot of these situations, the objective is just kind of hanging in the balance there for a good while before anyone actually takes solid control. But when control was taken, Kagura always seized it and was able to just get a full snowball into a knockout push. That's the sign of a very high-level gameplay, that they're able to trade back whenever anything goes wrong. They're able to, go, punch for punch with the other team. And when they finally do get an advantage, they press it and they press it and they press it and they get everything that they can out of it. We start off here on Brinewater zones. No solid lead really in the first minute. Part of that is because this zone is tiny. This zone is, I think, like the absolute smallest single zone. It does not take much to cap this. I believe you can throw a tri-strike on one side, a tri-strike on the other side, and still have a third one to displace the enemy team while you cap the zone with them. It's just really, really small, so even if you cap the zone, you're not going to keep it for very long. As soon as you stop firing at it, the other team is going to take advantage of that opportunity, and they're going to cap it back themselves. So what really has to happen is you have to earn an advantage before you're able to get anything done here. One thing that both these teams brought to try and gain that advantage was E-leaders. E-leader on this map is nuts. It's sort of similar in layout to Hammerhead Bridge, except that with Hammerhead Bridge, it's all in a straight line, so at least you can't shoot from one end of the map to the other. But on Brinewater, since it's folded in on itself, the E-leader can just see everything from up there. And so you know exactly where the E-leader is going to go. What are you going to do about it? It's going to be there because it can just back up from the ledge, and it has a really strong defensive position to stand on while it's up there. So those flanks on the left and right-hand side, while they're far away from the zone, they're going to be really important because controlling the zone, it's not the most difficult thing to do. What you need to be able to do, though, is actually lock the enemy team out of mid, and that is a very difficult thing to do, which is why our teams struggle with it for so long before any advantage ends up going over. But let's go and look at the fight that actually brings us to the conclusion of this game here, which happens in part because of a good crab tank placement. So the retake is coming in here from Kagura. Again, these points are basically negligible in a top-level zones game. The game is not going to be won by this number of points, by this margin. They come out with a slight advantage in this fight, and they're able to push that advantage, Wami doing a phenomenal job of being able to hold the enemy team off and giving the team time to farm for special. And that extra time to farm for special ends up paying off big time now when they're able to finally pop a crab tank on top mid And this is it right here. The double special, the crab plus the zipcaster gets 2 picks. And with only 30 seconds left, or 30 ticks left, I should say, which is less than seconds, the enemy team has nothing they can do. They don't have the resources to be able to push in anymore. They have to kind of make a desperation play, and they're going to get picked off one by one as they try to do that, especially with Leafy getting another crab tank out here and being able to end the game pretty unceremoniously here. Very, very snowbally, like we've talked about Splat Zones games can be. And we're going to see similar patterns to that on all of these other maps. Sturgeon Tower, it takes until, I believe, 2:45 on the clock before anyone even clears the first checkpoint. And that's because every single time any one advantage is won, we see, Wami goes down there, so we've got a slight advantage, trades happen. And these trades end up making it so that neither team really has the resources they need. See, now we're in a 2v2 situation, and we get one, but the other team is respawning, and they get a pick with the leader. They're just stuck here in mid for all this time because they're trading resources back and forth. It's kind of like when you watch a high-level soccer game, and it feels like they're just passing the ball back and forth, but what's really happening is they're trying to move each other around and get to the point where they have an advantage, and that's when the action really starts. And the action starts on this map once we get to about this point right here, where the checkpoint is finally cleared, in part because of Wami creating some space using the Zipcaster, and .Q having an excellent crab tank that is able to lead to a couple of picks, and this they just snowball all the way in. And speaking of snowballs, this map does not last very long. Kagura doing a great job of pushing very aggressively forward and getting on the enemy plat and getting in between them in the zone. That's what you really want to do. If you can fight off the zone, then even if they beat you, they can't get to the zone before you've got somebody else back in position. And with a zone this big, this snowball is all too easy. The fight does go in Kagura's favor here, and because they have those resources, they are able to clinch it. So, very strong look from Kagura here. If there's anybody who's going to make an upset, I think, against those top teams that we're expecting to be up there, I'm looking at Kagura being like, they've definitely got a shot. I think they're playing really well, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in the rest of this tournament.